So, good evening. How are we all doing? It's Thursday evening. It's 7:32, and that must be time for this crap. So, for all of you people who've got nothing better to do, how is it going? What are you up to? What are you doing? Why is this at such a strange angle? Let's attempt to ameliorate this. That's better. What are we all doing? What's everybody up to? Well, last weekend was the national finals. I was down at the national finals with James Murray, and a jolly good weekend it was as well. Hello, Ryan. How's it going, matey? What's new with you? And how's the Volvo coming? It's fired up and exhaust made and all sorts, isn't it? Hello, Andy. How are you doing, matey? I saw that the old Slammer van's got an MOT. And evening, Biff. How's it going, matey boy? You all right? So yeah, the national finals. What a bloody good weekend! Lots and lots of racing. It's all sportsman racing. It's all good. It was got after ever such a slightly false start, because I was talking to James and I said, "Well, yes, I'm working Friday. I'm working until sort of noon, so I won't be able to get down there until late afternoon." When's qualifying? Is it qualifying Saturday, elimination Sunday? And he goes, "Oh Jesus," he says, "it's a 3-day meeting." It starts on Friday. I hadn't planned to be there until Friday evening. So as it was, after much panicking, you went, arseholes to it, I'll just turn up Friday evening. So we missed all day Friday. Exhaust made, yes, not much more been done, unfortunately. Still chasing all the electrical shite. Oh yeah, of which there will be plenty, being one of those engines, won't there? Are you using, I've forgotten, are you using stock ECU and whatnot? So yeah, in case anybody's wondering, this is the YouTube camera and this is the Facebook camera. Only for she's all MOT'd up for another year with only a couple of minor issues to sort for the next test. Brilliant! Oh, that's cool. And yeah, yes, Kim, as I said, YouTube camera, Facebook camera. So yeah, that is good news. So yes, and another thing was last week. After me, like I say, I've had the Jean-Claude Dam van up for sale for a while, and I've only had a couple of people even remotely serious. Hello, Rob. How are you doing, matey? Are you well? And Biff, are you well? Yes. Coming up to last week, Jean-Claude Dam van. Not really many people seriously interested. Had a couple of people come to look. A couple of people asked some very silly questions. Hello, Lee. Are you all right, mate? No sales. Anyway, the insurance ran out on the 11th, and the MOT ran out last Thursday. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to gamble 40 quid. Oh, you're on both. Yes. Nice one, Kim. How do, Lee? Hello, Gary. You all right? Couple of little anti-roll bar bushes to look at on the front. My rear number plate lights went out on the test. Brilliant. Are you using Phytech Ultima LS standalone? Ah, yes. It's the car electrics. Oh, right. Oh, that's some bizarre. Oh, nice. And enjoy tracking that lot down. That is some random shite. No fuel gauge, no power windows, and the reversing light stays on. Brilliant. What gearbox are you running, Ryan? So yeah, do excuse me. I'm going to open my my can of Gina. Hello, Liam. How are you doing, mate? How's things with you? 4L60E. So I'm good, thanks, Dave. Radiotherapy was a doddle. Brilliant. Seriously, lie still for 10 minutes while they nuke you. So you just have to lie there like a sack of spuds. I'm not going into that. Andy says, stout little wagon for what I paid for it. The previous owner wanted to chop it up and weigh it in. Believe me, that occurred to me with the LDV. So anyway, yes, like I say, a week ago, the MOT came due, so I took it in the day before. This is why there was no live last week. Hello, Kev. This is why there was no live last week, because I took it in for its MOT on Wednesday. Now, bear in mind, I was at work. Mint, mate, fantastic. How's the wagon? I saw a gorgeous wagon for sale at Santa Pod at the weekend. Was it a 57? I'm sure it was a 57. Estate, 2-door. Now, you know how much I get me knob out for a 2-door wagon. Oh, yeah. Unfortunately, the price kind of put me off a touch. It was 20 grand. And lovely as it was, oh, no, almost no side effects either for now, at least. Just waiting for the HR department at work so I can go back. Oh, brilliant. That is good news. So, well, side effects for you. What peculiar mutations do you not already have? But yeah, that is great news, Biff. I'm really, really glad to hear that. That's cool. It's about time we had some good news. Was there ever a what that was never made that could have existed in another timeline? A Shelby MGB. Now, that is a... Well, I suppose they picked the Cobra. Why not the MGB? Vauxhall PA Cresta SS. Now that sounds like something that might have been made for like the Australian or the South African market, something like that. Humber Hemi Scepter. Now I'm sure. Hello, Phil. Was it the Humber Super Snipe or something like that was made with the idea that you could put a 318 in it? I'm sure that. Shout out to Brian and Ian with the Whitfield and Tub fuel altered. Yes. Now, sadly, I wasn't at bloody Hot Rod Drags, but yeah, I've not heard a bad word about that machine. I mean, it looked stunning when it came out a few weeks ago. A few weeks ago? God, how long was it? But yeah, running it, I've seen videos, I've heard the noise it makes. Oh yeah, boy. Yes, so they deserve all the praise they get. In case you're wondering, we're talking about Brian Whitfield and Ian Tubb with their altered that they ran at the Hot Rod Drags. Anyway, Barry Grimes was cruising it. Ah, good man. Hello, Jerry. How are you doing, Jerry? You all right, mate? Where are you at the minute? Weren't you off on your travels again last week? Anyway, so last Wednesday took the LDV in for an MOT. I'll be frank, it was possibly the slackest MOT test I've ever submitted a vehicle to. But he did go under there and he did have a poke about. He says, you know, centre bearing on the prop's a bit knackered. What else? He says there's a bit of an oil leak on the engine, which I'm convinced is a diesel leak from the pump that has washed all the grime off the engine down to the bottom, so it looks like an oil leak. Anyway, I wasn't going to bang on about that. But he says, this sill here, holes at the bottom, he says, you really need to sort that out. And I thought, right, this was Wednesday night. I was up at, I've been up at like 3 in the morning to get to work for 5 every morning that week. And I thought, if I want the thing for this weekend, so I said, how much would it cost for you to do the welding? You know, about 90 quid. Right, I said. So this was Wednesday evening. So Thursday morning, phoned up. Can you do me welding for me? Because I just don't have time. Yeah, no problem. Can you bring it in next week? I said, I was hoping to use it this weekend. No chance, I couldn't get it in before next week. Jesus, shite. So, yeah, Thursday evening. Fortunately, not raining. So I went down the workshop with the van, underneath, poke, get all the drot out. And there was a rail for a driver's side sliding door. Now, the van doesn't have a driver's side sliding door, and the rot was behind this rail. So I cut the rail out, looked at the rail and thought, that's about the right profile. Cut it in half, welded it in. And when I say welded, I was outside. The welder I hadn't used in maybe 2 years, so all the wire was rusty. Come to use my self-darkening welding hat, The batteries are dead. And yeah, so the upshot of that is it was done with put the torch in the right place, close eyes, go next. The result was such a disgrace. I'm embarrassed to have been within the same postcode as it. However, a large tub of seam sealer later, and Friday afternoon, MOT ticket, had her way. And oh, and that's another thing on Thursday is I didn't get there because I didn't get home from work at about 4 o'clock. Got down the workshop at about 5. As I had to work outside, because there are houses nearby-ish, there's an unwritten outdoor power tool embargo curfew of 8 o'clock. So I had to do all this. Only that's one thing I said during the retest. I said, please do not tell my employers what you might see under there. Oh yeah, well that's the thing is that I didn't get panderized because, like I say, all I did was close my eyes and go. So it looks like rabbit shit fired on with a shotgun then. Well, a catapult maybe. Nothing as high tech as a shotgun, or just put on the end of a lolly stick and fired at the. Yeah, it was dismal. But like I say, with a bit of seam sealer, happy days. Not happy days. It was a disgrace, and I was ashamed of it. However, it passed the test on Friday lunchtime, so took it home. Phoned the insurance people up. Can I get insured? Yes, marvellous. Pack the van. Off we go. Oh, and I'm kind of glad I did because, yeah, the weather was a bit dismal on the way down. So dismal, in fact, that I think they had 3 rounds of qualifying scheduled for Friday, and I think they all got 1 round in. So we only missed 1 round. Had we panicked, or rather, had James panicked in order to get there Thursday night, he would have got 1 qualifier in. Not 3. Hey ho! So yes, the van passed its MOT. Oh, and there was a hole in the exhaust as well, which I plugged with the cunning expedient of a lump of semi-set silicon sealant, and that I picked from around the rim of my cartridge of sealant, and a Jubilee clip. We're talking quality repairs here, quality, long-lasting, permanent repairs. I'm quite convinced it's impossible to get a decent looking weld on rusty shed's overhead position. That's one thing I will say for the Jean-Claude Dam van, is that when it comes to welding those lower sills, I don't have to jack the van up. You can just get under there and kind of sit up with your head against the prop shaft and just tit. Jobs are good. Like I say, it would have helped if I could have done the job with my eyes open. Hey, if it works, it works. Well, that's it. However, it does kind of mean I've had to take the van off sale because... Hello, Clyde, how you doing, matey? How's the Capri going? You're up and running now with that, aren't you? Because that was such a bogus test pass that I am A, ashamed, and B, slightly worried to sell the vehicle. So it's come off sale for at least the next 3 months. Hello, Joe. How you doing, matey? What's new with you? What's going on? Yes, the safety squint. Well, it wasn't even... Actually, it was a kind of a... yes, yeah, because you don't get archive if you do the safety squint. And to be properly safe, after the first few flashes, you have to swap eyes. Or I could have just risked my left eye and just got arc eye on the left. But yeah, it was pitiful. And I could not, with any degree of conscience. Fine-tuning that EFI, magnificent, glad to hear it. Which EFI is it you're running? Is it Holly Sniper or something like that? A Lotus Thunderbird. Well, it was General Motors that owned Lotus at one point, wasn't it? Was it in the 80s, 90s? Because we had that Corvette, which I think was called the ZR1, and it had a Lotus developed, I'm going to say quad cam V8. Vitec. Ah, yes. And is it coming right? What's the hold up? Is it a problem with the Vitec or a problem with the operator? Because that's another thing. I mean, let's say down there at the weekend, after each run, James will plug his laptop into the car and go diddly diddly dee and download a log, which means something completely different to me. That's how the Lotus Carlton happened. Absolutely, Lee. But yeah, they did have a dither about with the Corvette, didn't they? I'm sure it's called something like the ZR1. Very low numbers, now worth a wad. And yeah, it was a Lotus tweaked Chevy small block. The plus side to being off work, the van is almost done, and I've been buying loads for the Corvette. Brilliant. Well, that's a small silver lining to what you've had to go through, but nice one. I'm old school carb, so this ECU tuning stuff is over my head. Yeah, like I say, James, download his log. And then open it up, and there's all these squiggly lines on the screen in pretty colours. And that's about where it begins and ends for me. The ZR1, yes, 32 valve quad cam. There you go. So that was a Lotus dithering with the Chevy small block. It kind of never amounted to much after that Corvette, though, did it? A Lotus Mustang. Well, the thing is, Lotus have always been about tiny flyweight cars, haven't they? Colin Chapman's favourite phrase was it add lightness? It wasn't remove weight, it was add lightness. And yeah, so Citroen Diane SVT, now that I could get my hat on with. That is Emmerdale. Bugger Emmerdale, right up the Gary Glitter. Maybe it's a hot hatch. It would be a bloody hot hatch. LDV Raptor, now you're talking. Because, as I said this, I punted out one of the Hot Rod Gazette newsletters, email newsletters, earlier today. It should have gone out on Monday, except that would have put it in October, and I wanted it to go out in September, so that with a bit of luck I can get two out in October. And I said, you know, after I've got all this done, and with that exhaust plugged, bloody hell, it's quieter, would you believe? And Klein says, but she now starts on the dime, ticks over lovely, thanks to Arnie at the Hot Rod Drag, sorted the other issues, and now, and that's where it ends, I'm afraid. That's brilliant. Oh, cool. So Arnie being Arnie Pammond, who runs that AMC Javelin, which I think is really cool. But yeah, anyway, sorry. While I was driving down there with the plugged exhaust, now drives nice. Brilliant. Oh, I'm glad to hear it. So now that the car knows what it's doing, you've got to catch up. I'm fully with you there. I'm with you there, brother. It's all bloody black magic, isn't it? It's just voodoo. Yeah, so anyway, I was driving down to Santa Pod, and I had the newly plugged exhaust, which not only makes it quieter, it also, I mean, quieter is a relative term in LDV, because the valve noise makes it sound like somebody in steel-toed clogs dancing in a dustbin. Appears to have improved the overall mileage, fuel mileage, which needed doing. But yeah, as I was doing that, I thought this really needs a proper exhaust, because it's bodged there, and then it's got the last exhaust hanger is because side exit, so the pipe comes down the van, turns sort of 45 degrees to the driver's side, then is held. That's where there's a rubber, you know, hanger. Then there's a silencer. Then the exit, and it's all rotten. So it's been bodged and bodged and bodged. And there's me thinking, oh yeah, it really needs a new exhaust. And I thought, I think I've got a Flowmaster lying around. No, you don't put the Flowmaster on the bloody diesel van. Scaffold bar front to back. I like the idea, actually. Holly Sniper is mint, says Liam. I got 17 miles per gallon on a good carb to Pod and back, 170 miles. on the EFI 24 miles to the gallon. And that's not dicking around, really. I mean, 24 miles to the gallon. I don't think I ever got that out of my Lexus. And that was computer-controlled everything and probably about the same weight as your wagon. And with a smaller engine. So, yeah, 24 miles to the gallon, not dicking around. I'm having that. So, yeah, after I started thinking about fitting the exhaust, and then, oh, when you're cruising along the motorway and you're doing 56 because you're just keeping up with the wagons, because you could overtake them, but if you come to any sort of incline, then you're just into the world's slowest bracket race for like 5 miles. There was me thinking, yeah, oh God, I've got an Oldsmobile V8 in the unit. Why don't I throw that in here? That's the top of the slippery slope. It's only about 45mm internal. Yes. Lee says I got 16 miles to the gallon with a carburetor and 16 miles to the gallon with a sniper. What intake setup are you running on yours, Lee? No, it's not that tall, is it? No, okay, never mind. Not with my Megan. She shifts. Yeah. Yeah, so it is still pitifully slow. Has anyone put the Holly EFI on a Pinto Fiat Twin Cam or Austin A series? Now, I think one of the main appeals of things like the Holly Sniper and the Phytech is that it comes ready to bolt on out the box for an American V8. Once you get the whole sort of crank trigger sorted, I don't know how, whether, because of course it comes with an ECU, whether you could tweak that ECU to run a 4-pot, or whether it would just go, no, 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 I am sort of pre-programmed with various V8s, and that's your lot. Anything less than a V8, you can go and kiss my sweaty knackers. So, yeah, I do not know, but there's no reason why not. And frankly, if you've got the nous to convert something like a... Pintos came fuel injected in Sierras. Fiat Twin Cams came fuel injected in the Fiat Argenta. You know, one of those cars that are just filling our scrapyards at the moment. Lee said, well, there's a small version of the Sniper for little engines. Yeah, I thought as much. I thought it would be quite an oversight for them not to have... But the thing is, all the tuner import stuff in the States is already fuel injected. Nearly 80 mile an hour on the flat, my little beastie. Tested off highway for... Oh, you went to Mexico to test the speed, did you? Sorry, so the Fiat Twin Cam did also come fuel injected, so theoretically a fuel injection manifold would be a bolt-on swap. And then and presumably those cars came with an ECU. So why would you bugger? Well, you could bugger around and put like an aftermarket ECU on it, but I suspect that's been done lots. Austin A series, less so, because I know the very last Minis came with fuel injection, but I think it was single point. I think it was just off with the carburetor, on with the fuel injection throttle body sort of thing. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. Went for a 2-barrel Holly, got the... Oh, bugger, it's gone. Oh, the twin turbos to come. Ooh, twin turbos. Most of the twin cam Lancias are fuel injected. I'm not sure about that. I know the later ones were. But I'm pretty sure that over here, the Injection Electronica was only on much later ones, by which time Lancia's rep in the UK was so buggered because of rust that they weren't selling any. Same with Fiat. Because, you know, they sold lots of 131s and then they just rotted in front of everybody's eyes and they all went, oh, sod Fiat. So when they turned it into the Argenta and the 132. Or was it the 132 that came fuel injected? Either way. Yeah, oh, and Italian electronics as well. I mean, I was only doing 60 as I was in bumbling traffic. In fact, if you looked at the front of that queue doing 60 mile an hour, you might have found me in my van. Either way, yes, if you're going to trust 40 to 50-year-old 40-year-old Italian electronics, then go for it. However, if you just get the manifold and some suitable injectors and wire them up to an aftermarket ECU, like I say, whether it be a Holly Sniper or any other off-the-shelf aftermarket doings, I suppose it then depends what you use to provide the cam and crank signals. I know you can use the HPIE. Well, that's what the IE stands for, in Injection Electronica. Argentas had carbs, all of them. I thought there was or maybe it's a 132. I thought there was an option to have the Fiat twin cam engine with fuel injection in a Fiat saloon. I could be wrong. But yeah, if you can convert the distributor, or use the distributor, in fact, because presumably it's already an electronic distributor, for, yeah, like I say, it was the very last ones they made, by which time, like I say, the Fiat and Lancia reputation in the UK was so bad that nobody bought them. Yeah, so if you can use the distributor to give you the cam signal, then presumably all you really need is a crank signal. I don't know whether the Pinto and the late twin cam fuel injection they must have had some sort of crank position sensor. I still think a sleeper Citroen Diane needs more thought. I'm with you on that. I have already had many feverish late nights thinking of what you could do with the Citroen Acadian van, especially as they're separate chassis. Oh, bugger, and somebody said, hold on, what was that? Aidy, hello, it's me. Hello, Aidy, all right, matey? Oh, sorry. Yes, a jolly good evening that was in the Street Eliminator pits. I found a mint Fiat Mirafiori in a garage today. Oh, do tell more. And if you tell me it was a two-door as well, I may well bust my zip open. But yeah, do tell. Thank you very much, Adi. Yes, and yeah, it was a good Saturday evening. We went to a 15th birthday party because we're just that rock and roll, and it was cool. Although nobody gave me a paper hat. And yeah, it was a really good fun evening. There was snacks and cake and some truly dreadful karaoke. Oh, bloody hell! And as if by magic, the shopkeeper appeared because Tony, it was Tony's daughter Katie, whose birthday it was. And yeah, like I say, there was some tremendous snacks and there was cake. And frankly, a day with cake. I do not know what you've done to piss off Zuckerberg, Tony, but every comment you make, I'll just get your name and no comment. Four-door, sadly, it was the HF Integrale outside that attracted my attention. Ooh. Never mind, sadly. When was the last time you saw a Mirafiori? That is cool. I trust you bought it, because if one stumbles on some old shit, one needs to buy it pronto. The practicalities of paying for it and storing it notwithstanding. And if you don't do it, I might. So, anyway, as Andy said, Citroen Diane, I've seen a couple of 2CVs that people have thrown BMW motorbike engines in, BMW flat twin motorbike engines in. And some of them, the late model ones, they got fuel injection and all mod cons, and some of them are frighteningly fast, especially in a car that weighs, what, 600 kilos? So that's how I ended up with a Ransoms Council mower. Exactly, yeah. You see, you can never have too many projects, only not enough room. So it was in an area of Derby where I didn't dare get out of my car. I'd dare. For a Mirafiori, I'd dare. Or just sit in your car, wind the window down and shout. Just make sure you take your watch and any jewellery off first. The Mirafiori Sports, yeah, a two-door Mirafiori is frighteningly expensive. Especially in that gorgeous 70s orange, which is with that bizarre plastic front grille that looks like it should be on a a 70s, electric razor. It's run on a temp sensor and a lambda. Really? Is that all? No, there's got to be throttle position sensor and crank sensor and all sorts of rubbish. Anyone ever used EFI on something like a Coventry Climax or Austin B series? Well, Coventry Climax, I'd be thinking either classic circuit racing or Hillman Imp. Now, 20 years ago, my mate had one welded patchwork quilt on the floor and a knackered diff. Sounds about right. Holly Sniper. Something like Coventry Climax and Austin B series. Well, B series, MGB. If there's anything nobody's done to an MGB, I'll be very surprised. There were fuel injected B series from the factory, but they were diesel. Yeah, they were so painfully slow and underpowered that I think they were putting things like Austin Cambridges with the idea of being used as minicabs or something. But they were so painfully slow that not many survived. And I think the engines from them ended up in tractors, Leyland tractors, I think. And he advertised it in Fast Car. His phone was ringing for months. Bloody hell. Oh, that's a shame. But yeah, if you find one, big money. Coventry Climax, yeah. So Coventry Climax motors in little sort of single-seaters, probably bound by rules for historic racing that they can't convert them to fuel injection. However, if nobody's converted a Hillman Imp to fuel injection, I'll be very surprised. And when I say converted a Hillman Imp, I don't mean like Paul Hughes or Joe Stevens, who converted them to bloody big block power as well. I wonder if there's room in a Diane for a pug fed. Is this some code I don't understand? Peugeot V6 lump? Oh, front wheel drive V6 lump. If I was going to go to all that effort, I wouldn't put a bloody Peugeot engine in it. But anyway, I'll tell you, I know somebody who is building a mighty, mighty, mighty silly Citroen 2CV. And I'm not going to tell you who it is, but it's his birthday today. The guy who bought it, paid by bank transfer, didn't even see it in the flesh, sent a recovery truck for it. Good God. Well, it must be nice to be able to do things like that. I can't. Nearly bought an orange one years ago. Oh, dear. Next time I saw it, it was on the top of a pile in a scrapyard in Leicester. Thing is, we can say that about a lot of things. Like I said, years ago, I bought a Fiat 132 purely for its engine because I had a Morris Minor. And you can probably see where I was going with that. Ended up driving the 132 around. It was cool. Rotten as a peach. Absolutely stinking. That rusted in a... That and a Talbot Solara were two of the cars I've had that rusted in such a bizarre fashion, in as much as the rust started in unlikely places. You know, not necessarily in the sills or the door bottoms or whatever like that, but just in the middle of a panel and then work its way out. So I don't know whether it started from a stone chip or something and then just grew. And yeah, the favourite of the Solara was the door bottoms were mint, but behind the rubbing strip on the side, you knew when the doors were wrong because the rubbing strip fell off and you find out that it had taken most of the door skin with it. I had a Solara with a hole in the door, a rust hole that I could fit my head into. I didn't, but I could have done. I quite like those little Renault 4 things too. Yes, once again, I have had many, many feverish thoughts about what I could do with a Renault 4 van. A 4L F4, which is the short wheelbase version. Now, I mean, if you got the F6, I think, which is a slightly longer wheelbase, and of course, a different wheelbase on either side of the van because they're just peculiar, you could theoretically fit the Renault 5 GT turbo engine in it. That should be a kind of a bolt-in swap, which would be frightening. However, I don't know if anybody's done it, and if they have, well done to them. The first Mirror Fury Sport that Listy bought had 6 sunroofs, all naturally occurring. One of my Solaras had a sunroof that began at the windscreen. and you'd be driving, because I did wonder why somebody had fitted a vinyl roof to it. And I mean, this car was stinking anyway, but somebody had put a brand new vinyl roof on it. And when I bought the car for all of 50 quid, I didn't understand why it had a brand new vinyl roof. And one day I was driving along and I heard rip. What the hell was that? Rip at the front of the vinyl roof. A strip about that wide. What's that? Oh, it's about 6 inches, that, isn't it? Had just was slowly peeling back like you're opening a corned beef can, rolling itself up on the roof, because at the front edge it was glued to absolutely nothing. And then the strip next to it did the same, and eventually I had a self-removing vinyl roof. And yeah, and I'm not sure what was holding the windscreen in. Not a great deal. And when that rained, you got the lot straight in your lap. Bosh it. And if that didn't keep you awake while you were driving, I'm not sure what would. Throttle position sensor is in the throttle body. Ah, right, okay. So, and what does it use the dizzy as a cam position sensor, or is that cam and crank position sensor? Because somebody does a dual pickup distributor conversion, so you can use a distributor for crank position. There's one reader for crank and one reader for cam position sensor. I bet the D's Lost in B series block would be awesome for a blower with the petrol head and guts. I don't think it was radically different from the petrol version, and it was, because it was so low powered, I don't think they had to particularly, I don't think, please prove me wrong, I don't think they beefed up the block a great deal. 35 psi with it. Good God, yes, except that I'm sure the MGA twin cam head's probably the most tricky bit there, isn't it? And getting 35 psi out of an M90, I suppose it could be done. But an M90 is, yeah, actually that would be slightly over spec for a B series, but that's just right. Because you can get the ones off sort of like, you know, one of these Mini Cooper things. Is that an M90 or is that the next one down? Either way, that'll be good. Because, yeah, I started thinking about Bell End here. When, because in the unpaid in turn one's Triumph Toledo came with what I think may be, Mr. Insurance Man, a 1500 Triumph engine, the same one as you'd find in a Spitfire or a Dolomite 1500, and it had twin carbs on it. Anyway, as he was a young lad, it was like, right, should we have a look at these carbs? We took the carbs apart, and there were various bits that were worn and a couple of bits that weren't up to snuff. So we put all the bits carefully, you know, in a big plastic tub. First thing we did, mix them together, front and back carb. Can't remember which is which now. Then knock the box over. And I think we found all the bits, but I can't be sure. Then they just got stuck somewhere out the road, because we'll come back to them. So we'll put them in a safe place. So safe, in fact, that I can't find them. And led me to thinking, good God, it would be easier to just convert it to fuel injection. Just take the whole EFI setup off something like a Mazda MX-5 and convert it like that. And I still think that's probably the best way to do it. Then I thought, just cut out the middleman, fit a Mazda MX-5 engine and gearbox, which is, yeah, still, it's now the sort of the go-to motor setup that used to be the Pinto. So, you know, before the Pinto, it's like you got your pre-Crossflow engine and put a Kent Crossflow in it. From there, it was like, oh, you put your Pinto in or your Fiat Twin Cam or whatever. After that, yeah, I think it's now the Mazda MX-5 motor, which is cool and reliable and cheap and gives a decent amount of power in a little saloon. What more can you ask for? Well, and it's really cheap, and you can still find them in scrapyards. So yeah, there's me thinking about why don't I bugger around converting this Triumph 1500 engine to fuel injection. Then, oh, maybe one of those Mini Cooper superchargers. That'd be a laugh. No, why bugger around? Why not just cut out the middleman? Go Mazda. But there we go. So there we go. After in the 2 weeks now since the last broadcast, yep, been up to took the Mustang up to Melbourne, which was nice. That was a nice day out. Took the dog as well. Well, we took 2 cars so we could take the dog. He loved it because he just walked around and scrounged food off people. He doesn't much care for the racing, I don't think. He, not that bothered being a dog, but he does like the fact that people have picnics and barbecues and stuff. Then did the whole LDV thing. Then did his independent on the EFI. You tell it your timing position. Oh, okay. My neighbour's got an Mark 1 MX-5 with an M90 on it. Yes. I believe that's a fairly common sort of conversion. I'm not surprised. Mercedes or BMW? Well, that's the thing, is that the MX-5 unit's kind of simple by modern standards. Mercedes and BMW are not known for making their shizzle simple. However, if you did pull a Mercedes motor out, it'd already have a supercharger on it, wouldn't it? A nice CLK motor. And yet, nobody seems to want to do that. Which, what does that tell you? This is independence on the EFI. You tell it your timing position. Well, okay. Right, well, fair enough. It's turn off and onable like Mad Max. Is it? What's it got? A sort of like an electromagnetic clutch in the pulley, isn't it? Or is it one of those where at low revs it doesn't turn because it can breathe through the supercharger? Which is a bloody good idea. Yes. Oh yeah, and just the other day I changed the window regulator on a Fiesta. That was a job that was far more complicated than it needed to be, because I've never worked on a car that has sort of cable and pulley arrangements for lifting and lowering the window. Especially as I bought this new regulator arrangement from eBay. I've no doubt it was a Far Eastern knockoff. However, it seemed to work. But when I fitted it, the interior door panel, you got your upholstered door panel. You take that off, and behind it there's a plastic panel held to the door with 12 bolts. And you take that off, and all your window windy rubbish is attached to that. So presumably at the factory, that they can take the pre-manufactured thing, bang it on the door. 12 bolts, diddly-diddly-dee. It's got all kinds of vacuum-operated bypasses and pipes and wires and stuff. Oh, that's made it really complicated then. Huh. Damn. Oh well. I wish my OM904 LA had a supercharger as standard. That would be cool, actually, yes. Although you need an old sort of roots blower for that. You want to... Oh, Christ. Yeah, you want a proper roots blower for that, I think. Like the ones they have on bloody American bin wagons. So anyway, yeah, Ford Fiesta, take the panel off, fit the thing to it, fit it all back to the door, drop the window down so it engages the 2 little sort of cup things on the wires. Great, or so I thought. Well, it went down, the window went down, zip, no problem, great. Goes back up, stop. Shit. Down, up, stop. Take the bloody thing apart again to find that these 2 little sort of holders that the window drops and clips into, as it was going up, the impact, the crash bar in the door, as the window went up, one of these things was catching on the impact bar. So I swore at it and tried to bend it and this, that and the other. Thermoplastics don't like it when you turtle around with them like that. But it worked. Ooh yeah, turbo supercharged Merc 4 bang. Yes, what could go wrong? What could go wrong with double forced induction, indeed. So there we go. there's been a lot going on. So yeah, now all the championships are over. The final tallies for all SPRC championships are now live on the SPRC website, by the way, because I looked on there today, and yes, James came 6th in Street Eliminator, which I thought was magnificent. 6th. And one thing I also noticed was 6 out of the top 7 cars in Street Eliminator also did Street Weekend. So, and there was no points bonus for doing that either. So yeah, I was, yes, not sure the wagon diff would approve. It would, but it's not for long. So yeah, that is, if I think those cars have more than proven their street chops. The boys at Diesel Pump UK are building a 50s GMC truck with a twin charged. Yes, I'm sure we featured a vehicle that they'd built in Street Machine. Was it Street Machine or was it American Car World? I think it might have been something like a Dodge Charger with one of those OM606s. Unfortunately, the only problem with those OM606 lumps is that now people know what they're worth. You're not going to pick them up cheap unless you're really lucky and happen upon them. But there we go. What can you do? I mean, that's another thing I thought is, oh, why don't I, well, not with my enthusiastic shifty. Ah, okay. Oh, you're not going to put a nice automatic behind it, no? That's one thing I thought with the LDV. Why don't I just put a Mercedes or BMW diesel in it? Fucking limescale. Kettle's full of limescale. Yeah, and anything that starts, why don't I just, is the path to hell. See, the path to hell is paved with good intentions and begins with the phrase, why don't I just? Or if somebody's asking you, can you just? Yeah. So yeah, anything that starts with just is going to be a passport to penury. Don't do it. It's like another thing, why don't I just tidy the bodywork up a bit? Jesus wept. So yeah, I really don't. This is how I end up with project cars. Why don't I just buy this and I can just do that to it and then it'll be on the road? No, it won't, and I never learned. It's already numb, you don't need more numb adding. I see, so the automatic stroke anaesthetic. Yeah, I'll go on with you on that. But I don't know, I don't really look for the full driving experience in a heavy goods vehicle. Although, like I say, it would be good. Oh, this idea of fitting a like a BMW or Mercedes diesel engine to the van, because I bypassed, why don't I just get the a nice, modern, efficient turbo diesel out of a more modern van? No. Why don't I get the engine and gearbox out of a passenger car? It'll have to be automatic, so because I'm never going to get a shifter in it. So yeah, why don't I just do that? And that's what led on to, you've got an Oldsmobile V8 kicking around the unit. Why don't you just put that in it? I've got a Ford small block in kit form. Why don't I just rebuild that and fit that? Why don't I just shut up and stop making rods for my own back? Did anyone see the Daimler prototype of the XJS Jack? No. What's this? Is this something that's just been released under the Official Secrets Act or something? Was it nice or was it awful? So, anyway, I don't know why I'm buggering around, or even thinking of just buggering around with the LDV. It's not like I haven't got loads of other shizzle to be getting on with. Strictly speaking, I've also got a Chevy small block lying around. Big silly vehicles to do big silly fun fast things is instant infamy or jail. It was sweet, no buttress rear window and proper coupe style. Okay, I'll have to Google that later. Sounds nice though. Yeah, I'm with you, but well, that's what I mean. Is that by the end of this, why don't I just session? I'd got basically a 6 litre LS in this LDV, and completely stock looking, complete with twin rear wheels. I thought that would be really, really, really fun. But it would still be only plated to tow, what was it, 1,500 kilos, so he's still bugger all used to me. I did see another van today and I thought, now that will do, pig, that will do. Of course it doesn't run. Of course it's 30 years old. Of course it's crap. But I really, really, really want it. And it was almost sort of in my price bracket. However, as it would just join the queue behind the Chrysler, which I haven't yet touched, I was planning on doing the Chrysler, well, starting the Chrysler today. Didn't even get down the workshop. I'll have to go down tomorrow. Jean-Claude Van Drift van. Jean-Claude Van Drift. I don't think it will be so much drifting as just going sideways a lot. And I think there is a fine line between the two. Drifting implies some form of control. Whereas what would happen with Jean-Claude is it would just go sideways until the half shafts fired themselves out. Which would quite be funny to watch. But as I'd be driving and not watching, not so much. Ah, dear. Right, so, or it's hold my beer and watch this. What he said, yes. Hold my beer and watch this because I don't know what's going to happen either. Yes. And so hold it tight, please. Now, today, metal flaked the wheel spats for my latest vehicle. Your latest vehicle has wheel spats. Do tell. What's the latest vehicle? Because I'm sure you've got so many cars on the go, I tend to lose track. So, what is it? Oh, pardon me. So, it kind of comes to the end. This weekend, of course, is the end of September. September the 30th is Saturday, isn't it? So, Mert did that once on the snowy day. It was a bit unnerving, but the smile on my face was aeroplane. Oh, it has actual proper sort of half a teardrop shaped wheel spats, does it? Brilliant. That's proper. Metal flaking the wheel spats on his aeroplane. That is cool. Yeah, I was going to say I did that in the LDV, but unfortunately it was 4 o'clock in the morning. I was driving to work, and what I saw on the road I thought was grit, as in had been chucked down by the council. It wasn't. It was mud from a tractor that had frozen. So when I hit it, the van just instantly stepped to the side like that. So the van went that way, my arse went that way, and I was wide awake when I got to work, wide awake, gibbering, and the piss in my pants had frozen because the heater doesn't work in the van. Actually, no, that's not true. The heater does work, but in the winter, the engine never gets warm enough to provide any heat. In the winter, that diesel engine does not get off the cold peg on the gauge. So having a heater is neither here nor there. There's no hot air for it to blow. Right. Well, I have now gibbered on. Oh, yeah, yes, so like I say, I've now gibbered on for an hour. If there's anything anybody would like to chip in with, please do so. But yeah, like I say, it's the end of September and there's not a lot left to look forward to this year, car show wise. If anybody does know of anything, please say so. So this weekend, I know you got Hailing Island and a couple of other. You've also got Dakota Drift, Dragon Drift at Dakota Raceway in Smeathart, Devon. They're doing a magnificent job, straight liners, not publicising that at all. So I believe it's going on Saturday. So if you're down in Devon, Smeathart Raceway. I turned left onto our sheet ice street, and although I'd straightened the front wheels up, the back end missed them. Yes. You need to fit a Venetian blind to the radiator and the small electric motor powering it. Well, I was thinking back to the days when everybody had a nice fluffy muff. Yeah, a nice sort of woolly muff to keep them, help them warm up during the winter months. But yes, I think you could be right, a small Venetian blind. Oh, even with a cable powering it, because the bonnet release cable is, that's almost seized up, so I could just fit another one by the side of it. For if I give it a good tugging, it might make me go blind. In this case, where the hell was I? Yes, Dakota Raceway. That's happening on Saturday. There's a couple of other things. Next weekend, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th and 8th. October the 7th and 8th is Melbourne Raceway. Their last fluffy muffs are in the past where they belong. Well, I don't know. If, like I say, if it keeps you warm in the winter, then it's it still has a place in modern society. You can't beat the fluffy muff when it's when you can see your breath. And I lost my thread. Yes, so next weekend, 7th and 8th, is Melbourne Raceway. That's the finals of various classes that race there. Should be a good one. After that, there's really not a lot doing. There's Flame and Thunder at the end of the month down at Santa Pod. I think it's Flame and Thunder is on the 28th of October. 29th is the Northern Swap Meet, also at Melbourne. So if you wanted to, you could do Flame and Thunder on the Saturday, Northern Swap Meet on the Sunday. However, the previous weekend, October the 20th, I didn't need the images of you with your hands stuffed into a big fluffy muff. Oh, no, it's not for your hands. No. It's for your radiator, to keep your radiator warm. Although you could put your hands into your muff to keep them warm as well, but you'd have to watch out that they don't get munched by the fan blades. So, Chunder Plummet. The 21st of October is where am I? It's Kenny's Bar Reunion, which I've started pushing a little bit harder, and still hoping to encourage some of the old Kenny's Bar regulars, or even irregulars, or even the downright strange, from back in the day at Shaky County, because let's face it, who hasn't had a good evening at Kenny's Bar at Shaky County? However, yes, I really need to point out that the tickets are sort of advanced sales only. I can't do them on the door because the place has a maximum capacity. So many fingers have been lost by being stuck in a muff. If you're not paying attention, you could lose them to frostbite if you don't keep them tucked into a muff. But yes, other than that, fan blades, yes. Yes, Morris's eyes lit up then. Oh no, he's completely shaven and waxed, and yeah. And I mean, when I say waxed, I mean after having been tea-cut. So, yeah, the 21st of October. Do come along if you need details. They're pinned to the top of the Facebook, the Hot Rod Gazette Facebook group, and the Hot Rod Gazette Facebook group, the Hot Rod Gazette page. They're both pinned to the top of there. Please do go on there, have a quick gander. There are links to local motels and even a campsite if you're feeling brave and think that camping at the end of October is a good idea. And that's tents, caravans and whatnot. If you're going in a motorhome or a van or anything, ask them for a hard standing pitch. Both the main motel and the campsite are about a mile from the venue, but in opposite directions. So if we're clever, as smooth as dolphin's beak, action man matey, action man smooth. then I may even be able to give a couple of folks a lift at the end of the evening. Right, so other than that, I've now been gibbering for an hour, which means that what the hell have you lot not got anything better to do? That little message there tells me that the battery's about to go flat in this phone. High-tech camera. So there we go. If anybody else has got anything to chip in with, please do so nowish. If anybody's got anything going on this weekend they wish to share, please do say so. Otherwise, I'm going to chuff off. So thank you ever so much for coming along. Morris played a really good prank on a colleague of his. X-Lax, dried fruits and nuts. Yes, I was telling somebody earlier about a prank I played, putting laxatives in somebody's bottle of cider at a party before it backfired on me in two different ways. When I remembered that I was giving him a lift home. Right, anyway, thank you ever so much for joining in. With a better luck, next week, Friday. As far as I'm aware, it's going to be a week tomorrow, the next live. So thank you ever so much for joining in. I do hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you all later. So thanks a lot. Good night. Have a great weekend, and speak to you soon. Bye-bye.